Astronauts to the moon.
10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jeranism, back with another video for you today. We're going to be talking a little bit about science, a little bit about deception, and about FakeX. Oh, sorry, my bad. SpaceX. And this video is also for everyone's favorite garbage mouth, Mr. Ridiculous, Mr. F-Bomb, Mr. Those are brave men and women up there in the ISS orbiting this Earth because I can see them in the sky, and they're doing it like bosses. Cool. Well read. Oh, if you hadn't figured out who I was talking to, it's Rhetoric. Link is in the description below, ladies and gentlemen. So, the challenge read, if you are successful, you'll get what you've always wanted. Structured debate, my channel, your choice of moderator, anyone you want, even angry kumquat, I don't care. It's up to you. Just simply complete the challenge. So that comes up in a little bit. Here's the issue. These guys talking about SpaceX, NASA, get billions of dollars, and all we get is grainy 1980s video, sometimes just pictures. In a bit, you'll see the Falcon 9 landing that took place 12/21. It is so fake, it's not even funny. 4 reasons. You'll see me point them out, but mostly you shouldn't need me to. Why a night launch? Why not light up the landing area? Why no HD footage? Why is it that no matter what, the footage is always suspect? For those who don't believe me, good. I hope it is every single one of you. All I ask is that you look at some of the evidence I present, use your brain and decide how truly wacko is what I'm saying. And if it doesn't meet your reality, move on. Go watch Fred Pathetic videos and go crazy, loving the fact that you trust what men say. Right? Our government would never lie. Right? Right, Red? Right, Bill?
By the time I had been a governor 12 years, when I got elected president, I felt that there were basically 3 components to any job like that. You had to have a vision for where you wanted to go, lay out a strategy, and try to execute that. That's the one thing. Second, you had to deal with the incoming fire. When George Bush and Al Gore ran for president, they had 3 debates. Nobody said, what are you going to do when the twin trade towers come down and the Pentagon's bombed?
What was that? My bad. I must have not been listening. Can you say that again, Bill?
When George Bush and Al Gore ran for president, they had 3 debates. Nobody said, what are you going to do when the twin trade towers come down and the Pentagon's bombed? Trade towers come down and the Pentagon's bombed.
Oh my goodness. Don't tell me, Mr. Former President, you're not some kind of a conspiracy theorist, are you? Oh boy. Should I go get my tinfoil hat in case the lizard man Illuminati pop out of their underground caverns? I mean, Mr. President, with all due respect, sir, as the government has already proven, as has subsequent non-affiliated committees and their reports, Flight American Airlines number 77 was hijacked by 5 men from Al-Qaeda who were armed with deadly box cutters. They flew the plane directly into the most heavily guarded structure in America, directly into the portion being renovated that cost $250 million and houses the Naval Command Center, killed 125 inside the Pentagon. On September 14th, the black boxes were found, but unfortunately there was no usable data existing on those black boxes. But regardless, you should really watch more ABC or CNN, Fox News. I mean, if you're really interested in the truth and not worried about the Anunnaki from Nibiru or coming to mind control you, conspiratard. So, anyway, I did find a interesting commercial that I thought you guys would all enjoy, so here you go.
People from the Flat Earth Society believe that this place is one of the four corners of the world. The very edge of the earth. Well, that's just foolishness. Isn't it? Newfoundland and Labrador.
Now, a lot of people ask me why I don't debate Red. And even Red asks me why I don't debate him. Well, you may have met some people like this in your life that think, for some reason, that because they back science, that they're always right. If they understood science as it is intended, they would realize that they were always wrong. Science is a method in which we can gain a better understanding or get closer to the truth. It's only a method, and it cannot prove things true, but only can prove things false. If science started making some crazy statements like, I don't know, the Earth is a spinning ball, or the sun is 93 million miles away, or we went to the moon 50 years ago, that might create kind of an issue because people in school were taught that there's certain requirements of science, right? You may recall that science is just a systematic process, and it builds knowledge in the form of testable explanations and predictions about nature or where we live. You may have also seen science separated into a few different baskets. For instance, natural science, social science, and formal science. Natural, like the natural world. Social, like studying people or cultures. And formal, like mathematics. Why would formal sciences, like mathematics, be separated from the other two? Great question. This is because math does not depend on empirical observations. So if an idea or a fact, as some might call it, is not testable, repeatable, observable, and falsifiable, then it's not science. It becomes a belief. At that point, it's simply their faith. So this first image is an equation proving 0 equals 1. So is that reality? How about this next one? Let's look at my bank statement from December. You'll see I started with $645,000 and ended up with $2.9 million. Now, I've done all the math here a few times, and it is right, perfect mathematically. But do I have this in reality? Well, of course not even close. So the perfect math doesn't apply in reality. It works on paper, just like the spinning globe, but in reality, not even close. So then you can see the problem that arises. You have boys who hide their real names, hide their identity, hide their face, and prance around dropping F-bombs like they have a 10-word vocabulary, which consist of the F-bomb, of course, rockets, gravity, trigonometry, mathematics, sine, cosine, tangent, I'm single, still. All his other words are just variations of the F-bomb. I really wish he'd take one of those F-bombs and drop it on the VAB.
Houston, we have a problem.
That would be great. At least we wouldn't have to see every person's chin, as I guess there's some sort of sign there that says, must take photos from ground looking up. We have a size complex. So, long story short, the problem with debating Red is that he's a scientism believer through and through. And for us to engage in any kind of a debate, he would just bring a science book and claim that everything in it is fact. Says who? Debate one of these scientism parishioners back in 1980, and they'll tell you Pluto's a planet. Debate one in 1930, and they'll tell you that DNA has nothing to do with our genetic makeup. Or debate one in the 1800s, and some scientists then would have told you that animals, like mice, can spontaneously come into existence out of thin air. So, needless to say, what good is it debating a Mr. Know-It-All who just uses science to prove you wrong about your opinions on science? Think back to that Bill Nye versus Ken Ham debate. Now imagine that the Bible is considered to be the truth by the academia. How easy would it be for Ken Ham to destroy Bill Nye in that debate? Bill Nye would have no chance, saying things like the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. Sure, Bill. What Red can't see is he considers himself smart just because he trusts what men tell him to believe. In a minute, we'll watch the SpaceX footage, and you'll see how Red has turned his love for science into a full-on dogmatic religion with unquestionable axioms that we aren't even supposed to question at all. But when I show you what we get from SpaceX, the crap that they give us, and then the response from Red will prove it isn't science. It is unfalsifiable. There's absolutely nothing that can be shown on TV or video that Red wouldn't be able to explain away while yelling at the person asking the question. If SpaceX says they're in space deploying satellites, then they are. This is the new world of science. And Red, he deserves no respect. You can see here that 26 weeks ago, he posted on his G+ that I'm a scammer. Well, first he says he can't be sure, duh. Then he says that someone had stolen $80,000 and that the scammer who did so was me. This is, of course, courtesy of the fine investigative work done by the crack staff over there at Eifers Forum. Thanks, Eric. Your research is really, really good. You might want to check with Robotham first next time. But Red's okay with reposting it along with a bunch of other links while he hides his name, his face, and his life.
Hey guys, it's Sean, and today I have with me a guy known as Redline. And the one thing I've heard before, but just so everybody else can know, why do you not show yourself on cam? Why do you use the avatar?
I prefer to remain anonymous because I want to be able to say what I have to say without people getting mad, angry, upset to the point where they might actually try to mess with me in my real life. I feel like what I say on here is solely that of my opinion and should not be branched off into my real life. And so if I can prevent that, I will go ahead and try to prevent that.
So that's why I don't debate Red. One, because really, is it that hard to debate somebody if you're arguing on behalf of science? And two, who would debate someone who's afraid to say, these are my beliefs, this is my name, this is my face? Instead, he just hides behind some broken pixels. So the other day, I saw another video where Red says he's calling me out, and he sits there for like an hour while all the NASA fanboys laugh and giggle that jeranism won't ever show up. Little do they know that there's actually these gorgeous creatures out there in the world called women. You can actually hang out with them. Maybe even make out with them. No, not make out the periodic table of elements. And no, they're not impressed with your subatomic particles. So, I decided to go show up and ask Red about this crap I saw at the recent FakeX launch. Sorry, SpaceX. You'll get to hear him yell at me, call me an idiot, all just because he believes in men, and I don't, because of things I'm about to show you. So first I'll address those issues, then you can hear him yell at me and respond. I just can't wait for that day when he finally realizes it's all fake by Calvin Klein. Oh, the tears will be a-flowing when he realized to space, no one's going.
We have liftoff of Falcon 9. Falcon 9 is clear the tower.
So I guess this was a pretty normal launch, boring, uneventful, looks like crap. And remember that SpaceX has tried to return the first stage rocket many times, and every time it crashed. Every single time. And Elon Musk said for safety reasons they needed to land it first on the barge in the middle of the ocean, and then they would try land. But this time they just said, forget it, let's not go to the ocean, let's try and land it on land. And we should have an audience there, and a young hipster announce team. Oh boy. That'll really help the rocket land, huh? So, let's see. Did it work? What do you think?
This is Michael Hammersley, materials engineer, and I'm going to talk you through some of what you're seeing and hearing as the vehicle continues to ascend. You can tell that we've had a successful liftoff initially. The Falcon 9 has cleared the towers, and it is rapidly approaching what's called maximum aerodynamic pressure. This is known as max Q. It's when the rocket is pushing hardest against the atmosphere.
Speed 550 meters per second, downrange distance 2.3 kilometers.
For this.
Ooh, everyone is dead silent while waiting for this. Now, up here in a second, you're going to see a box appear on the right-hand side. And watch the flames on the left and the flames on the right And you tell me if you see any anomalies. Shouldn't they coincide?
MVAC has begun chill.
MVAC chill means that the second stage engine is preparing itself to ignite. Shortly after main engine cutoff, we're going to separate the stages and begin the second stage ignition.
T plus 2 minutes. Speed 1.2 kilometers per second. Downrange distance 11 kilometers.
Ladies and gentlemen at home, I'm going to have to ask you to sit down now. We're about to watch MECO. Yeah, that's main engine cutoff. And you're about to hear what sounds like a few hundred Rhetorics basically wet their pants. Yes, I love space.
And there we have main engine cutoff. The first stage is returning to land as the second stage...
I mean, what are these people in the background even cheering about? Didn't the metal cover just come off? Standing ovation? Non-stop applause? I paused it here so you can see the moon. Remember that? It's going to come into play here in a few seconds.
The fairings have successfully deployed. You can hear everyone is phenomenally excited here. The Merlin vacuum engine is burning bright as it's moving up to speeds approaching 8 kilometers per second.
Have you ever been more excited? I mean, everyone there is phenomenally excited. I'm going to speed up the next 2 minutes or so. You can watch the clock in the upper right-hand corner. And while you do that, watch the match head, or whatever the glowy thing is, jostle back and forth for basically no reason. And then tell me how unimpressed you are.
Man, that is awesome. We are well on our way to taking Orbcom to orbit, and that boost back burn, that's the first step of a really intense process to get that stage one back on land, man.
Yeah, like so many things just happened. My heart beat twice. 2 beats since we were on last, first of all. Secondly, there were so many important things. There was first the takeoff, the immediate takeoff, which is just a huge relief. Then there's max Q, and you have the maximum pressure. Past that, huge relief. Then the stage separation, and everyone here went nuts. People here were going crazy. And then the boost back. So everything is so far looking great, right?
So far, so good. Yeah, that boost back burn is going to go on for about 30 seconds, and then it's going to cut off. We're going to flip the stage back around, and as we enter that atmosphere, those grid fins are going to pop out and start the guidance in through the atmosphere.
And so we're about 4 minutes away from when it would touch down, right?
Exactly,
okay.
Yes, about 4 minutes away.
Everyone's really excited.
There's a lot
here.
of energy.
Awesome.
A lot of
energy. So much energy.
Oh, it's a lot of energy. It's just, so much energy. You feel that energy? Damn, a lot of energy. Now let's listen in as these intelligent hipster announcers tell us about orbits and show us how little they know and how hard space stuff is.
Land.
One of the things I think that is another thing that I just not that intuitive is what an orbit is. And so right now the second stage is
going far to orbit.
Right. Yeah. It is going faster and faster and higher to try to ping these satellites off into orbit. And what that means is you're not floating in orbit. The gravity is almost the same as it is on Earth. So what's happening is it's almost like the second stage is like a giant throwing the satellites as hard as it can, so that they're going 17,000 miles an hour. So they can basically curve around the Earth. They're falling, but they're going so fast that they're actually curving at the same curvature of the Earth.
Oh, that makes sense now. Falling. They're going so fast that they're falling, so fast that they're falling but curving at the same curvature of Earth. Falling. But there's no up or down in space, so they're really falling in a circle. Okay, got it.
The harder it gets actually come back as well.
Yes. So, and also, being able to get all of these satellites into that orbit, that's really hard. But then having 11 and getting them to maintain their orbit is also really difficult.
But let's check in actually with John Innsbrucker for another update on how both the second stage burn is going and also how that first stage is looking too.
Oh, you're so right. I mean, getting things to fall and fast, geez, so difficult. Let's see what this guy's got to say. Notice that he'll mention that they're on a straight path and they're right where they need to be. And look how he looks at the computer at the exact moment he says, I've been watching, and we're on the right. You'll see.
We're at T plus 7 minutes, 30 seconds. Everything continues to go nominal, as we like to say here at SpaceX. Falcon 9 continues to power its way into orbit. The second stage is building up to 4.7 Gs of acceleration. Now, currently, we're about 2 minutes away from shutdown of the second stage engine to get into orbit. Engine performance continues to be nominal. I'm looking at the trajectory. We're going right down the middle of the track. That's good news. We're right where we want to be.
Wait a second. Show me again how you're looking at the trajectory.
Engine performance continues to be nominal. I'm looking at the trajectory. We're going right down the middle of the track. That's good news. We're right where we want to be.
Free burn for the first stage is on its way. Everyone's super excited out here. That burn's going to last about another 30 seconds or so, slowing ourselves down as we get closer and closer to the landing pad.
Yes. Now this stuff is super, super hard. Not only do we have a series of maneuvers that we need to achieve in order to get that rocket back down to the ground, but it's actually a super complicated thing. Like, you did some cool analogy and some cool math to figure this out.
Oh, it's super complicated. Luckily, this guy here did some cool math and some cool analogies.
What's happening with the first stage is it's like launching a pencil over the Empire State Building, having it reverse, come back down, and land on a shoebox on the ground in a windstorm. That's what's happening.
The critical part.
Yeah, and I don't think I could throw a pencil over the Empire State Building and catch them.
To try to do. And the crazy thing is, we're like 30 seconds away from this
crazy maneuver.
This extremely energetic room is a hush.
Just getting the last burn is going in. Landing legs should be deploying in about 10 seconds or so. That is a view from the landing pad.
That is that first stage coming back down to land and kicking up. History in the making, guys.
Now, we've never landed this before. In fact, we've failed 5 or 6 times. But you're about to watch history in the making, because we already know it's going to land. That's why all these people are here.
Stage 1 is landed. LZ-1, the Falcon is landed. Landing operators moving to procedure 11.100, section 3 on LZ-1 BNet and recovery net. Repeat, the Falcon has landed.
The bullshit is landed. FakeX, SpaceX, 19er, 36, subsector, worthless numbers, dot, worthless more, 36 over 4, carried 6, remainder 3, took their power. LZ-4 rocket, PCX, TC, section 3611, dot, recover, dot, 79er, worthless acting. Oh, holy man, wow. Man, so awesome. It's cool, man. Sweet. Oh, wow.
Oh my God. I cannot believe it.
You fake space. You fake space. You fake space. You fake space.
It's standing up there straight and proud and beautiful. As you can tell, everybody here is going absolutely insane. And rightfully so.
Huge first time this has ever happened. Moon here is just extremely exciting. Tim's so happy you can come out and join this.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. This is the most exciting thing I've ever witnessed.
Yeah,
I've never seen a group of people more.
Clueless. Fake. Mind-controlled. Asleep. Drugged. Nerdy. Ridiculous. Pathetic.
Excited, like freaked out excited, like the looks and the...
Damn it. Freaked out excited was my next guess.
And I gave someone a jumping hug.
It's
It's hard to understand what a big moment this is. Every single space agency in the world is watching this. This is, I mean, there's so many quotes of people in space agencies saying, this will never be done. 5 or 6 years ago, people saying, it's not possible to land the first stage. And they did it. You guys did.
It's a huge
Nice going.
And we just got confirmation we have a successful good orbit for second stage. We're making preparations to deploy the Orbcom satellite. So we are on a nominal trajectory for the second stage as well.
What is with all the cheering? My goodness, relax, people. You gotta watch this next clown. I mean, guy.
This is such incredibly an exciting thing. It's important to remember that our primary mission is, in fact, to get those 11 Orbcom satellites into orbit. There are going to be a series of 6 separation events, and in a moment, you will see the first 2 of the 11 Orbcom Generation 2 satellites separating from the second stage of the Falcon 9 rocket. We have cameras for at least some of those deployments, and those will be coming along shortly as the mission continues to progress nominally. We have cameras for at least some of those deployments, and those will be coming along shortly as the mission continues to progress nominally. A couple quick facts about the Orbcom satellites. There are 11 of them. There's also a 12th mass simulator, and that's there to just provide balance. Each satellite weighs about 172 kilograms.
Do you have any kind of a reference so I can understand a little better how big that is?
And it's for a total mass of just over 2,000 kilograms. For reference, that's about the size of a fully grown adult lion.
Oh, thanks.
Each satellite, when stowed, is about 1 meter by 1 meter by half a meter tall. So about yay, and straight down. It's about the size of one of the small refrigerators. But that doesn't mean it's nowhere near that simple. Fully deployed, the satellite actually extends out its arms 13 meters, about the size of a telephone pole. Now, the 11 satellites are mated in 3 tiers. There are 4 farthest away, then 3, and then another 4 fairly close to the Merlin vacuum engine. And now the way that we're going to begin deploying them is with the 4 satellites on top, then the 4 satellites in the bottom, and then the 3 satellites in the middle.
Hold on to your hats, folks. It's about to get crazy.
And
payload spacecraft
we have visual confirmation of satellite deployment.
Now, if you take a look right here where this arrow is, you'll see that the moon that we saw earlier in the middle of the screen is now back. It's going to start coming out from behind this deployer.
Continuing to progress nominally. We have 5 more satellite separation events.
Now, you can see here the moon is starting to move. And yes, I understand it's not the moon moving, it's the deployer moving. But you can see that moon starting to move, so watch that.
To give them their proper location within the constellation that's going to provide that continuous global coverage that Lauren was speaking about earlier. They have a parking orbit of about between 620 and 660 kilometers in altitude.
Does this guy even have any idea where he is? Anyone?
And we're waiting for confirmation of the next few sets of deployments.
Deployed.
You just saw the next 2 satellites.
On the road again. Just had to wait to get on the road again. I only move when FakeX is done deploying.
Payload fairing, or fairing adapter, forgive me. That's in order to keep the satellite and second stage moving in a straight path. If it,
satellite deployment. As you can hear, everyone here is just extremely excited that we both have a first stage that is sitting on ground, and also we are taking care of the nominal primary mission here. It's all about delivering those satellites to orbit as well.
I don't know about you, but I always see the moon that small. All the time, especially at full moons. Thing is tiny.
The worst thing that could happen is after this incredible moment, if something goes wrong here, it really would kill the bus. So, we really, want to get this right now just to orient me and everyone up. So,
CE
3 have been deployed, correct? Correct.
Yes.
Out of 5.
3 deployment sequences, 2 satellites per deployment. So 6 have been deployed, which is just over half of them.
And now there's 2 more deployments.
3 more deployments.
3 more deployments?
Yes.
Okay. So for 11 total.
Correct.
And you're only seeing about 1 go off at a time because that's given our camera angle. The other has half of that payload time fitting. You can see there's another satellite as well. Another successful deployment. We have confirmation that that is good. And just remember, that is a live view from space. That is the blackness of space. We are 620 kilometers in space right now.
Nothing is cool. I mean, it looks like...
We'll now see Red and a few other people's filming of this historic event.
There it goes.
And lift off of the Falcon 9. Falcon has wings again. Yep, there's separation.
And it's clear.
There it is. There it is. Got it. Got it. It's coming back down. It's coming back down. Falcon 9 first stage. It's coming back down. Went out. Went out again. It's gonna fire again. There it goes. There it goes. Falcon 9 landing. Come on, go for it. Go for it. Come on. It's gonna land. Come on, go for it. Go for it. Come on. It's gonna land.
1, clear the path.
Oh my God.
Are you recording?
I'm recording.
Look at that.
Oh my gosh. This.
Okay. It's gonna go. I expect it to flare. Okay, so that was there. It goes.
Oh wow.
That was the initial boost back.
That was higher up than I thought.
Yep. Yeah, really. All right, let's go.
Oh baby.
Come on, baby.
Come on, you got it.
That's fast. That's really fast.
Oh, no whammies.
Oh no. You don't know.
That was.
Cheers.
One way or another, cheers.
Cheers.
Stage one is landed. LZ1, the Falcon is landed. Landing operators moving to procedure 11.100, section 3 on LZ1 VNet and recovery net.
Repeat, the Falcon has landed.
Jeranism, I'm assuming you saw the last video that I uploaded, correct?
The Falcon 9?
Correct.
Yep.
And so I guess the first question is, can you not just be happy for them? Does everything have to be a hoax or a giant conspiracy or something like that?
It doesn't need to be that, but I mean, they admitted to landing their first stage before, right? So it's not the first time.
In water.
They've landed it on the barge.
No, they've almost landed it on the barge, but one of the landing legs failed and it toppled over and blew up.
I've seen that footage, but I mean, there is Elon Musk saying that they've already landed it.
Yeah, they landed the Grasshopper, which wasn't an orbital rocket, but it was made to test the concept. That landed, but that's not a Falcon 9. That's a Grasshopper.
9 isn't orbital, is it?
The Falcon 9 is an orbital, yes, but they never landed it. They never successfully landed that rocket. They did a soft landing in water, but you can't recover that because water.
Right.
And another thing that they did was they said, okay, well, screw the water. Let's try to do a barge. They tried to land on the barge. That didn't work. It toppled over, blew up. And they said, okay, well, let's go ahead and try and land it on land this time. CRS-7 came around, and it blew up mid-flight because of a strut failure. And I remember you had a nice, lovely field day with that one.
And so what we need to do is to be able to either land on a floating platform or ideally boost back to the launch site and land back at the launch site. But before we boost back to the launch site and try to land there, we need to show that we can land with precision over and over again. Just, otherwise something bad could happen. But if it doesn't boost back to where we intended.
Or you can have one of those rockets explode before it even gets to space, then wait 6 or 7 months, don't have any launches, then scrap the barge, forget safety altogether or proving anything. Instead, we'll invite an entire audience to come watch, we'll televise it, have an announce team present, and everything that caused all your other issues will just go away. Just like your self-respect, Elon.
And
where was the audience for that one? Why wasn't there the big hoopla that there was for this one?
What do you mean hoopla? I was there.
You were, okay, I'm talking about the hoopla of people at the SpaceX facility, the whole pomp and circumstance with announcers, and I mean, they knew it was going to land. This is all ahead of time planned.
You do realize this was a return to flight mission? Return to flights are usually a big deal for any spacefaring company.
Yeah, but didn't you just say that the one that blew up was the same thing?
The one that blew up was attempting to land on a barge. The one that blew up was the most sophisticated first stage, but as we figured out, the first stage wasn't the problem. It was the second stage that was the problem.
Right, and according to Elon Musk, the reason that they were trying to land it in the water first was because of safety concerns. So they couldn't land it in the water 2 or 3 times. So then
it's a lot easier. You do realize that in order to launch, they're launching at an angle. They would first have to flip it backwards and turn back,
which they had to do, right?
Which they had to do for this one, but they wouldn't have to do it. It would be more or less a ballistic trajectory right into the barge that was 200 miles out to sea.
So
they did that a lot easier.
So which one's harder?
It would be a lot harder to come back and do what they just did.
Right. Okay. You're missing the point. All right. Anyway.
Well, what point are you trying to make? You're basically insinuating that, they knew it was going to land successfully. Do you know how much work it takes to land a freaking rocket?
Well, first of all, when I say things like space is fake or that kind of stuff, I'm not saying that they can't re-land a rocket that they shot up in the air. So yeah, if you want me to be happy for them, fantastic. You launched a rocket in the sky and then landed it again. I'm impressed. Doesn't mean that it went to space. Doesn't mean that it deployed 11 satellites.
Oh, sure. So my video that shows the Falcon 9 as it is full, and then the first stage come down with it separated. That's not evidence that the second stage had to go somewhere.
Sure. Could have gone, could have gone a lot of places.
Yeah, including into orbit. You know, when you say that, oh, this is not evidence of this, it's not evidence for that. You know, at this point, it's like, what is more reasonable, that they would put on this magnificent light show that costs millions upon millions of dollars to fool you, or that they actually had a purpose behind it, which was to launch 11 satellites, bring supplies to the space station, or to put a camera at the Lagrangian one point to photograph images of the Earth. It's like, you know, that's kind of stuff is not impossible. And I don't understand where you get the idea that simply spouting, oh, this isn't evidence for anything, kind of goes against Occam's razor.
Wow. Red misses the point, and you can probably see why a debate would do nobody any good. Red, a former Catholic, hates the idea of God and religion, so he fell for the deception, and now, because it was his outlet, he has fallen deeply in love with SpaceX and NASA. It's like one of those abusive relationships. They could beat him within an inch of his life, and he'd go crawling back, but I love them. It's a science cult, the cult of Newton. I mean, gravity is a joke. Things that weigh more than air fall. Things that weigh less rise. Or does helium get a get out of gravity free card? Look at what NASA has planned for the next 5 years. Nothing. Oh, but in 2016, they're going to redirect an asteroid. Sure they will. The mentality is, I know you get upset when I say things like that I think that NASA should be able to do X, Y, or Z. You always say, oh, they have to conform to your demands. And it's not just my demands. It's 2015, and they get $18.5 billion a year. Yes, I know it's nothing compared to the military spending. I have a problem with that too. But the problem is, if it's our money, it's taxpayers' money, take $1 billion of that and put $500 million into a satellite, put another $250 million into the most kick-ass camera ever known to man, and then put another $250 million into the most kick-ass website anyone's ever seen, put 4K, 24-hour-a-day footage of the Earth spinning through space. It's 2015. There's no reason that we wouldn't have that. The only reason why is because they're faking it.
Of course, that's the only reason. Or it could be that they have better things to do with that billions of dollars than to disprove some retards on the internet that think the Earth is flat.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying. Of course, they've already conditioned you guys to feel that way. So that's why.
Yeah, well, that's another thing you do. You jump to conclusions. You're jumping to conclusions that I was conditioned or that I was indoctrinated in some way.
I mean, just look at what NASA spends money on. Look at these clowns dressing up, doing absolutely zero. You said they have better things to do with our money. Why don't they take a look at what they're spending on? Over $1 million a year on a Mars menu. I mean, they're sending another Mars rover. Why? We have 3 there. What do we need to go to Mars for? What do we need to know about Mars for? They're spending over $1 billion testing golf clubs in space. Give me a break. They spend thousands at Comic-Con every year and billions educating. Ha! It's called indoctrinating the youth. They need more yous. I mean, why do you think they keep up with their Apollo lie? Well, because people like you will not only back them, but you'll argue on their behalf, on behalf of the fraud. And you say NASA's got something better to do with our money. What about the drought in California? Think NASA could maybe work on getting some of that extra water from the East Coast to the state in the USA, I don't know, with the highest population, the one with the highest agriculture output? If it were a country, California would be the 9th largest economy in the world. It's by far the largest economy in the US. Number 1 in milk, cream, almonds, grapes. They have better things to do with our money. Are you kidding me? NASA is a joke. I mean, look at the companies like Virgin Galactic, or whatever they're called, promising people they're going to be taking them to space. Look at this video.
Virgin boss Sir Richard Branson hopes to launch a vessel into space within the next 12 months, kicking off an era of commercial space travel. The mothership is finished. The rocket tests are going extremely well, and so I think that we're now on track for a launch within 12 months of today. said Richard Branson. This could be the beginning of a whole new era of space travel. His company, Virgin Galactic, hopes to one day send people into space and launch satellites for a fraction of the cost of government-run programs, as well as eventually offering high-speed intercontinental flights. About an hour between Los Angeles and London is not completely out of the question, Sir Richard said, adding that it will likely take many years before the company can offer such a service. In the meantime, Virgin has sold some 430 tickets for space travel, at $200,000 each, for an estimated $86 million. It's not a cheap thing to build a spaceship company, and it's been fantastic to have people all over the world sign up. The company plans to begin by taking tourists on suborbital flights. Branson has said in the past he hopes to one day build a hotel in space.
430 tickets in 2011. That's $86 million. Invest that in the rigged stocks and you'll make millions, if not billions, for Freemason clowns like Sir Richard Branson, who should be Sir Swindled Some Suckers. But you'll sit there and tell people it's reality. I mean, even Einstein said, don't ever stop questioning. You have. You now believe in your religion and you don't question it. Wake up. He also gave the secret away, the secret that has you locked in shackles that you can't even see or feel. If the facts don't fit the theory, change the facts. You are indoctrinated. We all were. While you sit there in class and jot down notes, you fail to realize that you're being brainwashed by professors who are controlling what info you receive and what you consider truth. And they don't know it either, because guess what? Their degree came from a school where the same thing happened to them. And you love it. You love it. I've seen you recently promote this Earth photo. I mean, have you put it into an editor? It's a fraud. Like all the rest, it's a joke. What do we get from NASA? Nothing but trash. We get reports like this. Scientists have acquired the first direct evidence that gravity waves rippled through our infant universe during the explosive growth called inflation. Shut the front door. Direct evidence? Direct? From 14 billion years ago? Clowns. This is the strongest confirmation yet for the inflation theory that says the universe expanded 100 trillion times in less than a blink of an eye. That's not science. That's not math. It's lies. It's a belief and it's nonsense. Now this next clip is Glenn Beck, and I usually don't agree with him, but in this case we kind of agree. He of course has no idea that NASA has been a pawn in the education of human beings into mind-controlled slave drones, or that without NASA, SpaceX and Virgin Galactic would all be immediately outed as frauds. But people are starting to see the layers. Shut NASA down today.
Shut it down. Shut it down. What the hell are they doing?
Yeah, if this is what they're going to do.
This is worse. This is worse than going on just some friendly mission and saying, oh, look, we want to hold your hand and say how great you are. That's a complete waste of resources. This is taking NASA and trying to fit them into an organ to play the music of Karl Marx. That's all this is. And NASA should be defunded right now.
If this is what they're going to do, I mean, you have to. Go talk about space a little bit more. Okay? Stop talking about all this nonsense that they're...
But why even do space anymore? It's not 1950 anymore. Yeah, I'm fine with it. Look at what's his name is doing in with space. Virgin Airlines. Look what they're doing with space. Look what the what is it? SpaceX project is doing. I mean, look at that.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
You don't need it anymore. Again,
leave it to the private sector.
We're not living in 1950 or 1850. Government centralized control is not necessary.
And not the answer. Never the answer.
Never the answer. Never the answer.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is it's easy if you think math is reality, which it isn't. And
Math is reality. Everything that you do has a mathematical principle to it, or can be described using mathematics. For example, your drive to work. I could describe your entire drive to work using nothing but mathematics.
How about my body? How about fire? Can you describe fire mathematically?
I can describe fire mathematically. Do you want to know temperature or compound? Because that's also using mathematics. Oh, is your body? Hey, tell me, what's your body temperature? Is it 98.6? Is it 98.6? I forgot. Was it 98.6? I think it's 98.6. Let's go on Google and check that.
I got to hear this constantly. Math is not reality. Math can describe reality. Red just doesn't get it. You can describe a mathematical path to my work, but does that prove that I work there? No. Just because some math on paper shows that you can live on a globe 25,000 miles in circumference as long as you're going 66,000 miles around a 93 million mile distant sun, and so on and so on and so on, does not in any way prove that you live there at all. Again, I bring up my bank statement here. Those numbers, the math, all works out perfectly. You can subtract it. You can do whatever you want to it. Add it. It's going to work out fine. It's going to be perfect. Does that prove reality? Or does it prove that the math around numbers and money works? Wake up. I mean, the problem I have with everything that you do is it's completely unfalsifiable. So it isn't science. There is no way it can be proven false because you'll take whatever explanation is given no matter what.
Or the fact is that I actually didn't need any explanation given to me since I understand how this shit works. You seem to fail to realize, you always fail to realize, I should say, that you do not need to go to NASA to find the answer to your question. Do you not remember jeranism flat wrong part 4?
No, I don't remember.
It's like seriously, you don't even understand the first law of fucking motion, let alone how this shit works in orbit. All right, so I'm looking at the footage that you're talking about. You're asking me, why does the moon go through the actual...
I can't see it now.
Oh, shit, I did stop sharing. Hang on. You're talking about this shot right here, right? And that's the moon?
I can't see anything yet. Yes.
I'm sharing it right now.
Right, now
you should be seeing it.
Rewind it a little bit. Maybe about, I don't know, maybe to there is fine. If it goes to the, yeah, right there. Well, that moon actually starts down at the bottom of the screen, but that's fine. We can watch it from there. So see how the moon's standing still?
Mm-hmm.
Now, as soon as the satellite's deployed, okay, satellite's deployed. Now the moon can begin, and the moon will start its little trek again. Here it goes. Okay, now the moon will stop for the next satellite to be deployed. And this is the kind of bullshit that you guys will just accept. You'll come up with some bullshit answer for it, that why the moon just stops for fucking SpaceX satellites to be deployed.
You mean it can't possibly be in any way, shape, or form that it's actually the Falcon 9 rocket that's doing the turning? Oh my god!
What do you mean the turning?
The moon is staying still, you ignorant piece of shit. It's actually the rocket that's doing the moving. If the camera is attached to the satellite that's actually doing the moving, then the picture's going to move with it. If you don't have a fucking reference point from it, then of course it's going to confuse you. No. For fuck's sake, this is so easy, a fucking kindergartner could get it. Why is it that a grown adult can't understand these simple...
Are you done? Okay, good. You know that I don't think the moon moves. The deployer is moving, which causes the moon to appear to move. So when the moon stops, to my dumb peon preschool brain, it means the deployer must have stopped. But it can't. It's in orbit. The entire view is fake. SpaceX is FakeX. Now, you want to debate? Your choice of moderator? Even you can pick when? I'm giving you something so easy to do, very easy according to you.
You do realize that these satellites have mass to it, right? So if it pops off, it's going to push against the satellite. You do realize how space works. So if it pops off, it's going to push against the satellite, causing it to move. And that is why the moon actually moves. It's not the moon doing the moving, it's the satellite. Do you not understand how references work?
I understand that it's not the moon moving.
All right, good. Then accept the correction and move the fuck on with your life.
Accept what correction? That the satellite has to come to,
So you didn't jump to the conclusion that it was the moon moving. So what's the point of even bringing it up?
Because it's not realistic. It's not reality.
Oh, it's not realistic simply because you say so. Fuck the fact that it has a perfectly valid explanation for it. It's not real because you say so.
It doesn't have a perfectly valid explanation.
Yes, it does. The fucking craft is moving and not the moon. Oh, how crazy is that concept?
So then what is happening when the moon stops moving? The craft has stopped moving?
Possibly, yes.
What do you mean? Orbiting, it doesn't stop.
Yeah, it can stop rotating on a certain axis, you idiot. You do realize that in order to go around the Earth, that's one thing, but to spin on a different plane is totally possible. You do realize that the International Space Station can change its orientation at will, the same with the Hubble and possibly the same with this. You know, when it comes to like spacecraft, we have this thing called gyros.
It doesn't matter. This thing right now, that moon could disappear and come back and disappear, and you would have an excuse for it. You would say, well, it's changing its view. It's a different camera angle.
Oh yeah, I remember this one. The same way the sun disappeared on that one video that you showed of the ISS, but it was in fact blocked by something actually attached to the spacecraft, which was obvious, yet somehow you still missed it. Got it.
This is why when people say, why don't you debate? I say, because it isn't a debate.
Structured debate where you actually bring your evidence to support your assertion that the Earth is flat, and then I bring evidence that proves that you are full of more shit than a backed up sewer.
You already used that one.
I'll use it again. All right, fine. Then let me rephrase it. Full of more shit than backed up sewer after fat bastard had some Taco Bell and flush. Does that work?
No, you used that one before.
Shit. Okay, maybe I should come up with something new, but that'll be a problem for a different time. My thing is that the reason why you will not debate me, I already have an explanation for that. The reason why you will not debate me is because you know that you have absolutely nothing backing up your horse shit. That's why you don't debate me.
I questioned it and got called ignorant. Of course, it confused me. It is so easy a kindergartner could get it. Even though you say the pushing away is what causes the deployer to move, but during the release, you'll notice the moon stays still. It only moves after. You called me an idiot. You talk about orientation changes or axis changes, and you keep joking and saying things like the deployer can't stop moving. You threw out 10 different reasons why. You said, oh, it's not realistic because you say so. Red, listen up, listen carefully. It's not realistic because it's fake. And I can't wait to see you explain it with that big fat intellectual head. We will see who is smart, either the guy who thinks or the guy who parrots and takes direction well. We will see if I deserve the name calling or if you jump off a bridge just because you realize, oh, SpaceX is fake. You just don't realize what's going on here. And I can easily see that. I can see why SpaceX employees don't know. Because nobody could ever dream that we would all be taken to the cleaners like this. But once you know you're in that uncomfortable position I'm in, of being a skeptic, and only then will you see, only then will it make sense why there's no 24-hour feed from the ISS. Why all we get to see is the shitty cameras. One landing view, and then everyone else 11 miles away from this Falcon 9 landing. It's ridiculous. It's all just given so that the 98% of you are happy because you don't look into anything, you just assume it's true. Biggest mistake any of us have ever made. This video right here, Red, is 30 years old, and it tells us exactly what happened. You wonder why Russia didn't scream when we faked the moon landing? You love to mention the dick measuring contest. Well, you need to realize that you are exactly who they trained you to be. And I'm the enemy.
Well, you spoke several times before about ideological subversion. That is a phrase that I'm afraid some Americans don't fully understand. When the Soviets used the phrase ideological subversion, what do they mean by it?
Ideological subversion is the process which is legitimate, overt, and open. You can see it with your own eyes. All you have to do, all American mass media has to do, is to unplug their bananas from their ears, open up their eyes, and they can see it. There is no mystery. There is nothing to do with espionage. I know that espionage intelligence gathering looks more romantic. It sells more deodorants through the advertising, probably. That's why your Hollywood producers are so crazy about James Bond type of thrillers. But in reality, the main emphasis of the KGB is not in the area of intelligence at all. According to my opinion and opinion of many defectors of my caliber, only about 15% of time, money, and manpower is spent on espionage as such. The other 85% is a slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see. Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black, you still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. In other words, these people, the process of demoralization is complete and irreversible. To get rid society of these people, you need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of patriotically minded and common sense people who would be acting in favor and in the interests of United States society.
And yet these people who've been programmed and, as you say, in place and who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept, these are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country?
Most of them, yes. Simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people. And the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. They will join the links of dissenters, dissidents.
So here's the challenge, so easy a kindergartner could do it. Use Kerbal, model this deployment sequence for me. Just make sure it has no view of the sun, no view of the earth. The camera has to be on the same spot of the deployer. No Merlin vacuum engine firings. Show the moon doing exactly what it did while the deployer orbits. Start with the moon at the center, like I'll show you here. See there at the number 1 spot? Then it goes 2, 3, 4, 5, so up and down the little trail there. Show me how it works, watch the video, and then make the same thing happen in Kerbal. Easy. Here's a little hint. I would admit they faked the deployment, or you're going to look silly with whatever you come up with as a response. Oh, another hint. You may want to see that this rocket, which Elon Musk said is ready to go again, didn't have enough damage, is not the same as the rocket they launched. You can also see here this black perfect circular ending bottom piece. That's supposed to be soot. The rocket is white. So now soot is left in a perfectly circular pattern. No, my friend. It's all fake. It's a joke. And I mean, to me, I'm frustrated because it is obvious and upsetting. Communism, fascism, socialism, Marxism, they're all the same. They're all an enemy of freedom, and it appears a lot of people fell in love with it. What you don't realize is what your life will be like in 10 or 20 years, and if you could see your grandkids' lives or the lives of those in 40 years, you'd cry. Because you not only went along with it, you argued for the controller. You fought against those of us who tried to point out that we have never been to the moon. 9/11 was a planned event. Gabby Gifford shooting a hoax. Sandy Hook never happened. A planned exercise. San Bernardino, hoax. Barack Barry Sotero, a pawn. His tears, they're fake. Space, NASA, SpaceX, a distraction. They forced the smart minds into an endless mind maze with gravity and dark matter and quantum mechanics and stars trillions and trillions of miles away. Unbelievable. On that note, there's supposedly 100 billion stars, and there's supposedly 100 billion galaxies, and 100 billion times 100 billion is 10 sextillion. Thanks a bunch, NASA.
When it comes to rockets, they have footage looking up, down, side, through the front of the fucking window, which is the only view that the astronauts see. Keep that in mind. Through the front window.
How many views have you seen of it going forward to space? How many different videos?
You mean that I've seen, or have I seen videos of?
How many are there?
Oh, there might be thousands of videos from many uploads. I don't know what you're asking here.
Talking about, do you think that they show the view going into space less than they show every other view?
They show multiple views going into space.
I asked you a question. Do they show the view of the rocket going into space less than every other view?
No.
I'm done, dude.
They show it with it.
Goodbye.
Bye. They show it with it. If you look at every single Atlas V launch, and if you look at every single space shuttle launch, and if you look at every single Falcon 9 launch, you see the view as it is going into orbit from space outside of the Earth's atmosphere.
Well, you are dishonest, and so I eagerly await how you get out of this one. Redline monitor. Go. Be kind and don't lie to each other. This has been Jeranism, reminding you to open your mind. There is truth inside. Till next time. Peace.